Personally, I think that we have a great future ahead of us because when we look at the world, it's a digital world. Everything is getting electronics. Even the cars are getting electrics. There's no more mechanical objects anymore, and it remains sort of a magic how it works. And you see the balance wheel swinging and tick, 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 and it creates emotions. For me, like a car, electric car doesn't make any emotions. It's like open the fridge that and this mechanical object, like a watch, when you see the heart beating and chronograph and you have pushers and how it works, I think this magic is something that it speaks to people.
Okay, welcome to the first episode of Immortal Capital, a premium narrative podcast exploring the true meaning of value. Today, we step into the rarefied world of independent watchmaking, where time is shaped by human hands and patience is the ultimate luxury. Our guest is Kari Voutilainen, one of the most revered master watchmakers of our time. Born in Finland and based in Switzerland, Kari is known for creating some of the most meticulously finished and technically refined mechanical watches in the world. Kari doesn't just make watches, he preserves times as culture. Hi, Kari, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very fine. Very well. Thank you.
So, to start the episode, what we ask is each the guest to do is to bring an object ritual. So, what object did you bring to us today?
Well, it was a tough task to think then what would be. But I brought one small tool. It's a very small tool, which was my last tool what I made in the watchmaking school. It's sort of precision small tool, and it serves even today. I'm using that not daily, but once in a while, and we are doing the polishing of it. So it's a tool that we can do the flat polishing on it. I mean, with so it has a lot of parts that it's a milling, filing, turning, and so it's a nice small tool what I have been using during my whole professional career. So it's a nice small tool. We
So
can
basically, you use this tool to lock in
then
the watch and do the polishing of
uh,
each element.
oh, for instance, we are polishing screws, so we are fitting in this space. We can close it, and we
Okay,
can squeeze pieces over there, and then we can fit these 2 feet, and then we have like a 3 points at 2 feet, and the part what we are polishing on the third one. So, and then we go on the first on the bronze plate with the diamond paste, and then we go to the tin plate, and we obtain the hand flat polish. We call it black polish. So, and it's perfectly flat, and it's sort of one of the um, part of the high finish on the watch or on the moment. So, so that's
okay.
what's interesting and very difficult to do. And as a student, when we are in the watchmaking school, it's a challenging object to do.
And is this like since you brought this tool? So is this where value is created? I know that polishing is an important factor in watchmaking. So what defines craftsmanship in this polishing section?
The polishing is one of the part of the work which we create the value. So the steel parts must be finished. I mean, if you're doing the high quality work, so the steel parts they must be finished. So and we like contrast. So like a head of the screw is always flat polished. So all the screws we see, or even they're hidden under dial, they are polished. If you're doing high quality, they're polished by hand and they're flat. When even we are looking with the eyeglass, they are you don't see any scratches there, and it's part of the game. I mean, watch would work without doing that, but we must do if we are doing the high quality work. So there are lot of things that we don't see, but we know that they're nicely done. So there's always this technical aspect, but also the aesthetical aspect, and the aesthetical aspect is as important as the technical. So
Yeah,
it's part of the game.
the part of the technical part. Since we're talking about polishing, but we can expand it to other technicalities, because from my understanding, you're like one of the few who build everything in-house and doesn't outsource. But my initial question would be like, why does the machine doesn't do the same or a better job as the human when it comes to each one of these technicalities?
It's a large question. First of all, the technical part. Like today, when we are making watches, so we are using, I mean, we are doing that in house. So we are designing and fabricating and decorating in our workshop. But we are using these high tech machines to make parts. So we are precise and so on. So that's we take the advance of the modern technology. So we have a milling machines and we have a lathe and those modern machines, and then we have modern control machines. But then when we are finishing parts, so then there are ways to do. It's difficult to explain in few words, but there are industrial ways, or we can do it by hand. So doing by hand, we have a focus on every detail, and of course it takes much more time. But end of the day, we can obtain even the better techniques. Like we have on the watch, we have the gear train. So we have the power source, which is a barrel, in which we have a mainspring, and and then we have a gear train, and in the middle of the gear train we have something which is turning once per hour or whatever, and then we are taking the power to turn the watch hands. But anyway, this gear train has pinions and wheels. The pinions are made from steel, and they have pivots, which are inside of the jewels, inside of rubies. And those pivots, they must be highly polished. And when we are doing by hand, we can use the traditional tools and we can increase the hardness of the surface uh, by polishing. We are calling that we are burnishing. So, for instance, by doing like that, we are increasing the longevity of the piece and the service intervals and also the lifetime of the watch or the pinion. It doesn't wear because of how it's treated. So there are small things what we don't necessarily see, but by doing like that, it will last longer. And then
Yeah, so all these are like the technical part, but
yes,
is it the value of that you give to a watch yourself or the emotional attachment that you have to it? Is it purely technical, or there's also a story behind each watch's creation?
it's both. So the technical, but then it comes to aesthetics. That once we are finishing by hand, of course, it's a human person who is working behind. So all of us, we have a different way of working, even though we have the same drawings and we want to do the same things. Every like when we're looking at with our movements, the screws are polished. Everybody is polishing their flats perfect. But when we do chamfering of the bridges, every people they have a different touch. So they are all polished and they're beautiful, but it gives a soul for it. It's difficult to describe it. It doesn't look any more gold, or it has a sort of soul. And then, of course, this emotional part comes because luckily today that the customers and people they do appreciate the handwork. So, of course, this handwork takes more time. But then, we have pretty much a lot of visitors who are coming to see what we are doing. And then when people they see that we are really making things by ourselves, and that gives appreciation for the customers that they are really doing that and putting all these efforts and make it nice. And then there comes another thing, which, for instance, the dials. The watch dial has the decoration we call guilloche, engine turning. So I don't know if you
No, this one I'm not familiar with.
have a watch on my wrist, yep. So that the watch face can have the dial can have a different type of decorations. So it can be a smooth surface, which can be done industrial way. But then there's all technique called guillissage in French, engine journey, we call it in English. And it starts with the antique machines, the machines which are more than 100 years old. And it's like an engraving machine, or engraving with machine. And we can create different type of patterns, designs. And then when there's a color on it, so we can create different type of decorations on dials. And that's also something that, I don't know if you can see, there are some decorations on it.
So you mean the decorations on the
Dials.
dials themselves, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this dial, it's about 4 days, just a decoration for one person. And we need different type of machines to do that. We call that, we have a rose engine machine, which does all the circular type of decoration. Then we have a straight line, which is like a straight line or waves or whatever, but the machine there does only one direction. And the rose engine, it's like a lathe with all kind of cams on it. But that sort of techniques what we have, and we need a skillful people for those, like the geosage, but we don't have any more education for it, and it's something which is ready to disappear. That art, and
And this is what makes it hard to scale, because from my understanding, you produce very little number of watches per year, right?
exactly. So we are making less than 100 watches per year, something like 80 watches. And today we are something like 45 people making watches in our company.
So you have 45 people working on 100 watches or 85 watches, so like two watches on average per person per year. Wow, that's a lot
Yes.
of time spent on one watch.
Yeah, if you put it in this way, but then we have a lot of different type of professions in our workshop. So it starts from the design, that we have like watch engineering, people who are doing the construction on computer. And then we have people in the mechanical workshop, and they are running machines, they are making parts. They are fabricating something like 16,000 components per year to our watches. One watch has minimum 170 components inside of the movement, plus dial and case and so on. But the
Oof.
movement has already that much components. And then we have
But
a
one
person.
170 components per watch, is it specific to your watches, or is it like an industry standard, or like how as a watch
The,
maker you see this number?
so the movement it's our own caliber. It's we have done the construction of the caliber by ourselves. Of course, when we do the construction, so we have a know-how from the past, but we have also the norms. So we have like a golden rules, but also the written rules on the theory, what we should respect. It means that we have diameter of the pivots and all these technical laws. So we are working under these requirements. But we do this movement only for us. We don't sell that movement for other companies. So our watch, that movement, it's only for us. So we are making the parts, but also it enables us to guarantee the after sales service for the future, because we are making also the parts to our stock, and we store them for the future in case we need them. And
But why
so,
don't you outsource the movement part from external providers? From my understanding, there's a lot of famous and reliable external providers. Why do you do everything in-house?
so that's where the value comes, because when you do by yourself, like in the company, as we are, so we can set up our standards, and and also as we are small. In Switzerland we have companies which might have 2,000 employees making 1 million watches per year, 200,000, so whatever, big numbers. And then when we are making parts, it might happen, and it has happened, that the supplier has been, for instance, poor. They might they might make a bankrupt. Whatever can happen. Or the bigger companies come in. Now we need quickly something important. So of course, supplier is they're faced of the problem that okay, who I will serve. Somebody wants 200,000 parts, or somebody has 10. Should I stop my one machine? And this means at the beginning of my career, I noticed that if I see the future, like in our scale, like for me, I prefer to struggle at the beginning and to learn to make all these things, and then I'm confident for the future that we have a know-how, we have drawings, and we are also working in the way that um, we have written like ISO norms that we are trying to write down all the procedures. So somebody is coming, the new employee, so he can also pick up the booklet and see, okay, I need this tool, this machine, this paste, and I do like that, and it should work. Of course, you must practice, but at least the base is written
He has
down.
the structure that he can follow, basically.
And and uh, and then all. So once you do by myself, I thought that we can guarantee that we are able to do. But then it comes also another aspect. It's also that we know the cost. What does it cost? I mean, on the business wise, and the most important that we can also take care of the delivery time. Sometimes, if we are in a hurry, we can make our own decision and make it more faster. And there are many plus points when we are doing by ourselves. But and 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 then it's different because if we are working with the suppliers, we don't have a social responsibility. I make an order, and we have a stock, or I don't sell, and I don't need parts. I just don't make an order, and it's not my problem. It's a problem with supplier. But like in our case, we have a social responsibility because as we are doing a lot of things by ourselves, so we must we must be able to take care of our stuff. So and we are in the position that today we have a lot of work, so it's fine. But that's it's a big social responsibility what we have.
Okay, talk about social responsibility. Do you get also emotionally attached to your watches? Like when you deliver a watch, is it like an artist that is giving one of his masterpieces to his client? I know, like in art, for example, there's a high value of the work that wasn't sold by the artist. Do you have like this kind of connection too with your watches?
It's more with the unique pieces that we are really spending time to do that. So they have been watches like that, uh, and and that's of course emotionally it's because we put a lot of efforts on it. And of course, at the beginning when I started alone, 2002, and that time I was making by myself. Then it was much more difficult for me to sell the watch. But today it's a bit different because we are doing that for customer. Customer is ordering, and so. But we have watches once in a while that there is some like emotional attachment, and it's more difficult
To let it
to
go.
sell it.
And when you say there's a custom, because there are some watches where you have like a standard line that you produce, but you also have custom lines that you produce for customers based on their request. How does the customization work? And can you give us a couple of examples that you worked on? Like if I'm a customer, what kind of things are customizable, and what do clients like to see customized?
We have our movements, so we can customize a little bit the movements. I mean the colors and decoration. But then when it comes to the dial, when we see the production of the 1 year, about all the watches are different because we do accept that customer can have a choice for the decoration of the dial. So it means this engine turning design. So it makes, and, and then we have a different type of numerals. So we can use Arabic numerals, we can use Hindi or Roman numerals, or the combinations of these. The numerals can be made on rose gold or on white gold, so the colors are different. We can make treatments that they are white, and then the dial can be in any color, almost in any color. And and then we are doing also enamel dials or half enamel. So we have a lot of different type of variations, and but in the same time, I'm trying to keep the watch that has our DNA. That when we are looking at the watch, we can see it's a it's our watch, it's our movement, it's our dial. So there are some key elements that we keep always like that, the same.
So the customization is mainly aesthetics. There's no like technical customization or like
Oh,
modifications.
yes. So we have been doing, and we are doing that. Just right now, we have been limiting that a little bit for the reason that our delivery time has been very and is still very long, and due to this reason, we are trying to focus to shorten the delivery time. But we have been doing, for instance, unique pieces, mini repeaters, chronographs, tourbillons. We made, for instance, one tourbillon. It was only one movement, tourbillon with a constant force mechanism. So we do that. So, but and at the beginning I did a lot, and now in these past years we have been doing a bit less. But now in the near future we'll start to do again, perhaps a bit more.
Okay. And does it matter to you whether a watch you create is worn or kept as an object of contemplation?
Well, I prefer that the watch is worn because it's made for it, and 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 it's also there are different type of customers. Like I see most of our customers, they like to wear the watches, so it's also the like a joy of the day that when you pick up your watch, whatever you wear today, and when you wind it up and you wear it and have a look, it's it's sort of a daily enjoyment. And I prefer that the watch is worn, and we can see that it has been worn. That the strap is worn out a little bit, and when we get the watch for the service, for instance. So that's my personal
And
point of
how
view.
much of your own journey ends up inside a watch, intentionally or unconsciously, in the sense that the transmission and responsibility to the collector?
Yeah, my profession. I'm the watchmaker, and I'm still I'm doing the watchmaker's work every day. So that's what I do.
So you're still hands on every day, you know, took a step back and just focusing on one side of a business or just running the company as a CEO.
And now I used to do all these things by myself, but now it makes more than 4.5 years ago that we have an operating director. So she has been running the company, progressing more and more, and and now recently she started as a CEO, and I'm going to do far less operational work, and I'm really trying to focus today for the creations, for the new stuff, and to create these unique pieces, and also that with experience also to stay a bit more with watchmakers in the workshop to help them. That's what I'm planning to do. I have been doing, for instance, almost all the casings, and when the movement has been ready. So I have made all the hands and put the movement inside the case, and all these settings was necessary for the hands and to finish the watch. So I've been doing that almost all my career, but I would like to do more. the movements from the beginning until the end. And that's impossible when we are too busy. And we must have a time to concentrate few hours without any distractions. And that has been difficult. But that's what we are working today to change that.
Okay, and I also, as a watchmaker, I suppose you watch the industry as a whole. So, how do you view other watchmakers? Like, are they an inspiration for you, or are they benchmarks, or are they collaborators of ideas? How do you make part of this tradition of watchmakers, and how do you see your other? I don't know if you can call them competitors because you're so niche and so specialized that you're a little bit
So I
in
consider them as
your
the colleagues, the confrères, the colleagues, and because we must see that what we are doing today, like in our watches and our customers, I don't have any influence that somebody wants to buy our watch. So people are coming by themselves, and um, and also that most of the people, it's not a question of the money at all. It's because it's a passion, and they have uh, enough to buy one or two or whatever. So when we understand that, there's no competition anymore. So we are doing our work, and people are coming because they like our work. But I don't have any influence, and that's also something that I don't have any things like jealousy or whatever, because I know that our customers, it's their choice. So
Mm,
we are doing what we are doing, and then the people, they would like to wear our watches. But it's also interesting that in this world today, which is getting more and more opaque, so more and more people, it's no more only the watch, but it's much more the connection, because they want to know who is doing the watch, how it's done, where it's done, and then there's a story behind, because they know the people who are behind them, and and then there's a story to tell for the family and for the friends, and wearing the watch, I know the guy, and so that's also a very important part of the journey.
yeah, the storytelling actually, I find it quite mesmerizing. And if you have to look at your watch, what would be like in your watches in general? What would be the story that differentiates you from the other watchmakers? Like, what do your customers tell their friends and family about their watch?
One aspect might be that I have been very constant, that I have I followed my red line to do things, that I haven't increased my production and so on. Another thing I think which is interesting is our workshops that um, I have been investing. I mean, I'm the only owner. I don't have a partners or um, investors or whatever. I'm the only shareholder in our company, which gives the liberty. And and we have been investing that, like today, where we are today in this workshop. It's very interesting in the way that the physical situation of this workshop, that we are on the hill 250 meters above of the village on the cliff. So we have a stunning view from here, and it's the only building on the mountain. And then we have another building where we have also watchmakers and this engine turning company, which is called Brodvik. Um, we were able to buy that company a few years ago. And another building what we have on the village, it used to be a watchmaking school. So the building was built late 19th century, and we have been renovating. So we have a very beautiful premises where we are at, and and this place where we are, it's exceptional. I mean, it used to be a restaurant more than 100 years, and 5 years ago we were able to buy this place, and it's a sort of incredible that we could have it, but it's also when people are coming, they will remember that for a long time.
Yeah, it's
The
as if
view is
time
awesome.
stopped in your premises. And speaking of time, in a world increasingly shaped by digital tools and digital phones and stuff, how do you see the future of mechanical watchmaking? And do you see it like remaining, although we're such a developed digital age?
Personally, I think that we have a great future ahead of us because when we look at the world, I mean, as you told that it's a digital world, everything is getting electronics. Even the cars are getting electrics. There's no more mechanical objects anymore. And it remains sort of a magic how it works. And you see the balance wheel swinging and tick, tick, tick. So I think, and it creates emotions. And like for me, like a car, electric car doesn't make any emotions. It's like open the fridge. So, but and this mechanical object, like a watch, when you see the heart beating and chronograph and you have pushers and how it works, I think this magic it's something that it speaks to people and uh, and there's not really mechanics anymore. Lift, everything's getting plastic, and we use it and throw away. And this way of consuming, I think it's completely opposite what we are doing. That we are doing things as it has been done centuries ago. That they are for the next generations what we are doing.
It's funny that you take the cars as an example in your illustration, but there are a lot of of car collectors that buy old cars for their mechanical features and mechanical engineering. But you don't see, or at least I haven't seen, new cars built according to the old mechanical ways. Only in the watch industry you find like this parallel, like you have advancement going on digitally, but a craftsmanship that is kept throughout the ages. Although there is craftsmanship in all industries, but not, I don't know if there's any industry who was able to keep this craftsmanship and continue keeping the desire from the customers of this craftsmanship. Today, if you build Ferrari Testarossa the same as it was 10, 20 years, 30 years ago now, maybe customers will not buy it, or they will not be interested, or maybe it won't be allowed to walk on the street because of the rules and regulations that have changed since. And if you look at any other industry, you don't find it. So how comes the watch industry was able to do it?
Well, it is unfortunately it's a bit changing with the industry. But when we are handcrafting, we can do that. And that's what we are trying to do. But when you look cars, it's interesting that, for instance, if you look like all these Mercedes-Benz SL in 50s, they're beautiful. Or you take these old Ferraris or Jaguar E-Type or C-Type. I mean, all these that sort of cars, X car, they have beautiful shapes, but it was also different time that um, they were very light. They were not that much electronics, and today everything's getting more and more high tech and industrialization. So when we are working with the industrial way, so there's no more handwork involved, and then it's always the cost because the industry is really cost related. What does it cost to make it? And and that makes that when you look at the cars, just like 40,000, 50,000 Swiss francs, and you have a lot of parts. So there's no way to do that by hand. There's no way. I mean, everything is mass produced. And then when you do the mass production, then you have a compromise how the parts are done. and there's also the details. But then you have like a Pagani in Italy. I thought 2 million or whatever. Those are made by hand,
True.
and you can see that they are really made by hand. But but then the price is completely another thing. But in the watch industry, like today, when we are working for us, uh, these modern technologies, that thanks to that we are here today because we are able to do things with these machines, and we can produce our parts. And then the another thing which is surviving us is the communication, because today we are able to sell directly, and that's also the if we would oblige to sell like before internet, before computer, and to go through all this wholesale procedure, it would be much more difficult for us to survive. But today we can, because we are more closer to customers, and we don't have these middlemen in the middle, and
Mm.
that's one of the reasons why today we are able to survive and exist.
And if you look at craftsmanship in general, like Pagani is a good example too. There is the scarcity element that makes it a big part of the value. Do you think people can create digital scarcity, or is it only a human thing? I'm trying to transition into Bitcoin, so we because from my background as a financial investor, I see scarcity driving value in everywhere, like in art and collectibles and watches and luxury, even in industries, and it is not scarce in terms of asset, but in terms of opportunities, in terms of positioning. You can see it also in real estate. And when I first started this podcast, is my idea is trying to understand scarcity and how it creates value in human beings' minds, because at the end everything is in the head of the people. So, do you think that scarcity can be digital, or it has to be humanly created?
Or I like concrete things that should be human made, and so that's what I think. Because I think, life. I think what is important is the daily life we are living. So that's why I like these things, the real things, that what we are doing and how we are living and what we are wearing, and if I have to go somewhere, how I will go somewhere. If I have a choice, summertime my sport car is nice. So and that's like the daily life. So it can have a value, or but it's more this emotions for me which is more important, because and that gives like a spice for the life for me.
Yes, but you know well also that values in watches is not about the functioning element in your daily life of the watch. Is more about the story you're gonna tell, the rarity of the object. It can be very efficient to give you time, but you have so many other efficient ways to get the time. So this scarcity, the narratives, all these combine into creating the value and the desire from people. So my view is that we can recreate these in various industries, and why not digitally? That's my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, but personally, I understand completely,
Yeah.
and and that's I mean, and that's also the beauty of the life, because we are all different. And I know a lot of people, they don't understand watches at all. Why you have to wear something? Because I have them on my phone and that's it. It's and it's more precise as your watch my iPhone.
Yeah, I can relate very well to this kind of argument because I hear it very often in my industry. So yeah, why do we need such a complicated watch? I have my phone.
Yes. But then it, it's funny that, like me, I've been wearing the watch even I was young. I mean, I get my first watch when I went to school, and since that I have been always wearing watches. I like them. Sometimes I change every day. Sometimes twice per day. I change the watch. I I like them. And it's funny that how they feel. And then you go to sport, you put another one, and sometimes the leather strap, how it's on your wrist. It's difficult to describe, but sometimes it feels good.
Okay, unfortunately, I have to wrap it up. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure having you on the show, and
Thank you very much.
well
Thank
done
you.
for these amazing watches that you are producing. And it was very nice discussing with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.